It's a church built in little bricks, and Brugge has actually paid bricks to build it. And that's why it's one of the highest buildings made in little bricks here in the region. The church was almost demolished also, but then some rich Brugians actually bought the church to save it. Now inside the church there's a statue of Michelangelo, and it's the only statue of Michelangelo that's outside of Italy. Obviously you cannot see the statue because it's inside the church, behind the trees. It's the only statue of Michelangelo that's outside of Italy, and it was stolen twice, once by a prick called Napoleon, once by an asshole called Adolf Hitler. So the score is 1 each. Now we're going to go underneath the bridge, and that bridge was built in 3 centuries time. This actually means that the Bruges are very slow workers. Now underneath the first bridge you will see stalactites, and the reason why you can see stalactites there is because that's the only bridge that's on the road, so the water can sit through it. And its 2 other bridges are below the houses, underneath the houses, and that's dry, so there you will not see stalactites. Also notice the difference in bricks that were used during the century's time. So behind this next bridge here on the left you see 2 houses constructed in wood and in bricks. Before the 14th century all of the houses were constructed in wood, and after the 16th century most of the houses were constructed in bricks. Mind you, after the 21st century most of the houses were constructed in rubbish. Now the first house here on the left is really beautiful inside, and I know that because this is the house of my father. The second house on the left is even more beautiful inside. I know that because it's the house of my mother. So they're actually living apart together, but they have a connecting door in case of emergencies. I was made in such an emergency. This was an emergency that lasted for 4.5 minutes. This is the average of every European country, actually. I'm very sorry, but I just heard very bad news for the people from Great Britain on board. You actually dropped it 1 minute as you left the European Union. Very sorry about that. Notice all the different kinds of houses. There's not one that is alike. They're all different. And that's makes Brugge so nice to look at. Diversity. Anyway, behind the bridge here on the right you see, well you don't see, there's a truck in front. But behind that there's the old hospital of St. Jan. Now there used to be hospitals on every road that came into Brugge, and you needed to visit the hospital before you could enter. That was to verify if you did not have any diseases like leprosy. They were very afraid of leprosy at the time. But the Bruges were also quite stupid because they put people with leprosy outside of Brugge near the water. And that was a very silly thing to do as the water flows all around Brugge. The walls there on the right are 800 years old, and the hospital itself was operational until 1972. I was born right there in 1968. After that they closed down the hospital. Don't know why. A bit further on the right you will see the other buildings of the hospital, and behind that again the Cathedral of St. Saviour's. Look at those beautiful colours. Over there. Have you noticed that all the bridges go lower and lower? You never know what to expect. This particular bridge is so low because in Belgium we've got a lot of politicians laying very heavy on the lights. So you can only imagine that you also have very low bridges in your countries. Because to me it looks like a worldwide problem at the moment. Welcome to my dungeon. That's the Disneyland effect. left there's a beer brewery. These guys have a pipeline with beer and it runs on the Brugge. It's about 3 kilometers long. So I've been digging holes all over Brugge now. No success yet. They make a very nice beer here. It's called the Straffe Hendrik Quadruple. If you drink 2, you're in heaven. If you drink 4, you've forgotten it. Anyway, on the right, the Beginits. Now, the Begins were not a religious order. They were very rich women that refused to live with men. They were very intelligent women. They were the first feminists in the world, really. Really nice to visit. And there beyond the house, that's the Lake of the Lovers. It's an odd name because this used to be a dock for the port. The water over there is 1 meter higher than here, and it's regulated by the house. It's a locker. So we're not going underneath those bridges. There's no use because there's a house blocking it. So let's mingle a bit with the swans here. We've got a wide boat, so... Also a very good spot to take pictures of people taking pictures normally. Hi there, swans. Morning. Now the Benedictine order lives here. That is a religious order. There's 3 things about Brugge that I want you to know. I will tell it now. I will explain it when we come back. Now the first thing I really want you to know is that Brugge was once the richest city of Europe. The second thing I really want you to know is that Brugge was once the poorest city of Europe. And we won twice. And the third thing I want you to know is that by now most Bruggians have enough money to buy themselves a small tiny boat. But we don't, huh? We'll leave that up to the Dutch because they have more water than we do. I'll explain that later on. Statue connecting hands. Everybody needs a hand. Now first I'm going to tell you something about the Lords of Grutus as we're going to pass their house in a while. Now the Lords of Grutus were very rich, and they were so rich because they owned the rights of Grut in the area. Now what is Grut? Well, it was a product that was used to brew beer. As you know, Belgians drink an awful lot of beer, so they were very rich. But Grut later on was replaced by hops, and that's the fault of the Protestants, because the Protestants didn't like the side effects that Grut had on man. And actually it made man a little bit horny. So follow me on this one. It means that Protestant men do not like horny Protestant men. Welcome back. Well, fair enough. But it also means that Protestant women do not like horny Protestant men. Now there's the catch. So I took the liberty of making some calculations for you, and according to my calculations, we'll be running out of Protestants shortly. Anyway, I'm diverting. I was telling you about the Lords of Grutus. Now these guys were living in one house with 14 men together without women. Now they drank